The preliminary work have shown that this site was occupied 11th, 12th centuries. The walls on top on the surface, and these are like Karahanid period walls, 1,000 years old.
Why build a large occupation at 2,100 meters elevation? Why did they live here? How did they live here? And for what? What was the motivation? As of 2015, this is our third year working at Tashbulak. When we first discovered the site, myself and Farhod Maksudov and a team of archaeologists from the Institute of Archaeology in Uzbekistan, as well as from Washington University in St. Louis, what we thought was here was just a number of small habitations. Subsequent research in 2012 and 2013 revealed that this was a much larger place. This is a medieval town or city and a large cemetery associated to the construction.
In order to understand the history of this area, of course, we have to do archaeology. It should be a very multidisciplinary project.
So the whole real goal this year was to come out with a larger team of specialists and to examine some of the specialized parts of the city, as well as the environmental impact that a city this large would have had on a very precarious environment high in the mountains here in Uzbekistan.
And so one of the things that we're trying to understand and bring away from this, I think, is where are the limits of sustainability? Can people coexist with their environment? Here we have an early modern or medieval kind of occupation. We think that they're smelting iron, utilizing a lot of resources. If the question becomes, did they effectively destroy their own environment at 1,000 or so AD, it really calls into this question how we can live within our environment, because their technology was lower, their population was lower, their resource consumption was lower, their footprint, if you will, was much lower. And it gives us, I hope, pause to think about where we're going in the future.
Things are moving really well, and here we are at about a 2-week mark, and we have a lot of progress already in terms of what we can say about the site. Starting here on the Citadel, we have already struck some bedrock, which is interesting because right above the bedrock we have a very dense and thick wall. On the outside and the inside has a lot of burning, a thick burn layer. So we're actually getting that moment in a way when the Citadel came down, if in fact it was burnt. That's what it's looking like. Elsewhere in the project, the ground penetrating radar team is moving very quickly, very efficiently. They may even finish the main part of the site today. In the cemetery, we're exposing what we think will be 2 adult bodies, and that's going really well with great preservation.
So far we've just exposed a little bit of the skull, but it looks like a lot of the skeleton should be intact, which is really exciting.
The geoarchaeology team is digging a trench in the lower city, right where there's a stream bed that flows right up against the walls of the city.
And it looks like the people were building walls maybe to keep water out. There's some interesting relationship between this floodplain and the archaeological remains. And as a consequence, we're sort of again learning that question of environment, people, environment, that kind of dialectic, if you will.
We've got bits and pieces of this story coming in archaeologically, and so we really look forward to the capacity to tell that story with more accurate detail. And as you begin to unravel that mystery, new mysteries expose themselves. And that's really been, I think, the tale so far of this season, is that at every step, a new mystery opens a door, and we can then pursue that in a kind of systematic and scientific ways.